Hi, Miss Ing's third grade class. This is going to be our first read aloud for the first couple, probably week and a half. And it is a great book called The Classroom at the End of the Hall by Douglas Evans. So we're going to pull up a chair. During this time, my expectation is that you're just listening and enjoying the read aloud. And then that's it. Just enjoy. Okay. The Classroom at the End of the Hall by Douglas Evans. Okay, Chapter 1, The Classroom at the End of the Hall. Here's a picture of the... There we go. Parents say the classroom is haunted. Mr. Leeks, the custodian at Walter T. Mellon Elementary, told us on the first day of school. He leaned on his mop handle as if it were a crutch. He raised a bushy gray eyebrow and squinted an eye. His whiskers rasped like sandpaper as he stroked his narrow chin. And sometimes in the evening, when I'm mopping the hallway, I hear sounds myself coming from that room. That room at the end of the hall, he said. I hear desks banging shut and chalk squeaking on the blackboard. I hear creaks from the floor and scrapes from the ceiling. Gives me the willies, it does. Back hunch. The custodian took a few swishes with the mop. He stopped suddenly and stared at us again. The hairs in his nose quivered when he snorted and said, "And let me tell you, youngsters, I've seen things as well in that room at the end of the hall. Take, for instance, just last night, while I was sweeping the playground, you know how the moon is extra round and bright on the evening before school starts? Well, let me tell you, youngsters, last night moon beams shone through the classroom windows and fell like a spotlight upon the teacher's desk. And there, as stiff as a flagpole, sat a man, a large, burly man with a bushy black beard. At first, I thought he was a wax figure, some store mannequin, but when he raised a finger and pointed to the desk, I nearly lost my teeth. Yes, sirree, that's all he did, just raise a finger and point. Mr. Leeks swished his mop back and forth, as he asked us, "Now, tell me, youngsters, can you guess who that man was?" We shook our heads. Here the custodian stared over our shoulders. With a shaking, crooked finger, he pointed to the painting hanging above the front door of the school. "Now," in a whisper, "that's Walter T. Mellon himself. I'm telling you, the very man I saw in the room at the end of the hall. They say he was a great teacher at one time. They say he was the very best of them. But let me tell you," and he leaned towards us so we could smell his sour breath. "They also say that man died some 20 years back." The custodian wiped his thin lips with the back of his hand. Again he leaned on his mop handle and stared down the hall as if studying our classroom door on the far end. "I'm telling you, youngsters, I can't put my finger on it exactly, but something odd, something strange, something peculiar." He stopped and stared right through us. "Something extraordinary goes on in that room at the end of the hall." Mr. Leeks plunged his mop into the water bucket. "Now, the bell is about to ring, youngsters," he said, pushing hard on a lever to squeeze on the mop. "Hope you have yourselves a fine school year." That's chapter 1. That was a really short chapter, so we are going to go on to chapter 2, and it's called The Chalk Dust Genie. Clap, clap, went the erasers in Roger's hands. Clap, clap, clap. He pounded the felt blocks together again. Clap, clap, with each wallop a large puff of white chalk dust spouted into the air and drifted across the playground. Clap, clap, clap. So, just a little context. This Back in the day, there used to not be whiteboards, there were chalkboards, and they were black, and it used to be a person's class job. They'd go wipe the chalk and on these kind of erasers, and then to get the chalk out, because eventually the erasers would be so full of chalk, you had to go bang on the chalkboard. So I kind of had a little of that in my elementary years, but I mostly had whiteboards, so maybe ask your parents or grandparents. Cleaning erasers was the perfect class chore for Roger. What other job gave him a chance to smash things together? Where else could he make such a mess and not get in trouble? When else could he be so remarkably noisy without a teacher complaining? For Roger noticed nothing more than hitting and making messes and being noisy. In the classroom, he relished kicking over loaded waste baskets and grinding pencils in the sharpener for as long and as loudly as possible. It thrilled him to spit in the fish tank, scribble shocking words on his neighbor's desktop with a permanent felt pen, or superglue the lunch boxes in the coat closet together. Nothing felt better than to shout in class, tell the sickest joke to a first grader, or do something gross, such as writing his name on the blackboard with snot. In short, Roger was the class pain in the neck. No wonder every student in the room at the end of the hall, not to mention the tall teacher, was glad Roger stood outside right now cleaning erasers. Roger scratched the side of his freckled nose with an eraser, leaving a white blotch on his cheek. 5 chalk dust rectangles already decorated his jeans. He slapped his knee with the eraser and printed one more. Now for the final whack, he said, spreading his arms wide. I might as well go back in the classroom. I mean, math must be over by now. Then swiftly, fiercely, he swung the 2 erasers together. Clip! Out billowed a large, powdery chalk cloud. And instead of sailing through the climbing structure and over the swings and slide, however, this white dust hovered in front of the boy like a plump ghost. Roger blinked twice to make sure he saw what he thought he'd saw. Yes, smack in the middle of the chalk cloud, gently bobbing up and down, sat a genie. It had to be a genie. Not only did he wear a golden turban, a large gold ring in his ear, and baggy pajama bottoms, but the first thing he said was, "Your wish is my command, Rog." A grin stretched across Roger's face. He had read books about genies and knew what they were good for. You mean I get 3 wishes, he asked. You mean I can ask for anything I want? The genie folded his beefy arms across his bare chest. Raising his smooth chin, he replied in a baritone voice, You got it, Rog. Care to try one out? What better news could a boy like Roger hope for? His brain waves were spinning. 3 wishes. Think of the possibilities. Roger scratched his head with his eraser, streaking his black hair. Now, what could my first wish be, he said. I mean, I don't want to waste a good wish, right? I mean, a kid doesn't get a chance like this every day. This wish must be perfect. This wish must do something spectacular. Well, he thought. Roger's eyes fell upon the kindergartners, who were out for recess. Instantly, his face lit up. Picking on kindergartners was one of his favorite pastimes. He never tired of seeing the surprised looks on the faces of the W.T. Mellon newcomers when he did something particularly nasty to them. Turning toward the genie, still bobbing in front of him, Roger said, Genie, here is my first wish. I know just what you can grant me. I wonder what would happen. I mean, I don't want anyone to get hurt or anything, but I just wonder what would happen if the playground turned into something slick and slippery. I mean, I wish the playground would turn to ice. The genie's nostrils flared as he sucked in a lungful of air. Are you sure, Rog? He said gravely. Yes, that is my wish. You must grant it, said Roger. I want to make the playground as slick as you can make it for as long as I say. Won't those little guys be surprised? What will they do? I mean, it will be unbelievable. In slow motion, without a word, the genie bobbed into inside his white cloud. His inky black eyes glared down at Roger's. Well, well, said Roger. Where's the magic? Where's the hocus pocus? I mean, aren't you supposed to say some magic words or something? The genie said nothing, but in the next instant, the entire playground turned white, smooth, and as shiny as a new dime. At once, the kindergartners began to slip and slide. Some flapped their arms like penguins to keep from falling. Most were on their fannies in a second. Jump ropers crashed to the asphalt, entangled in their ropes, and tag players went skidding into the swings. A girl who was playing hopscotch did the splits, while a chubby boy zipped down the slide so fast he shot across the baseball diamond clear out to left field. Roger slapped his thighs with his erasers, plastering his jeans with more white rectangulars. Unbelievable, he yelled. Did you see that kid go? I mean, did you ever see such a goofy look on a girl's face? Okay, Jeannie, that's enough. Let's not overdo it. Unbelievable. Did you see that little kid spin off the merry-go-round? Once the playground returned to asphalt, the genie folded his arms and repeated, Your wish is my command, Raj. Well, now let me see, said Roger. I still have 2 wishes, don't I? I can't waste either one of them. I must wish for just the right thing. I mean, how could I top that last one? For at least a minute, Roger stood tapping his chin with an eraser. What if? He said. No, that's not good enough, he said, thought some more, and I always wondered what would happen if, but he shook his head and did some more thinking. Finally, Roger tossed the erasers in the air and announced, Jeannie, I have it. I know just the thing. I mean, it's perfect. Just wait until you hear it. You see, I want to be head of my class. I want to be in control, call all the shots. I mean, I wish I were the teacher. The instant Roger finished this sentence, he found himself sitting behind the teacher's desk in the room at the end of the hall. The green blackboards loomed behind him, still and silent. His 24 classmates sat at their desk facing him. Well, how about this, said Roger, pivoting back and forth in his swivel chair. There you go. I'm the teacher, and those are my students. I mean, they're just sitting there waiting for my orders. Roger spun around in the teacher's chair. He opened the desk drawer and blew the teacher's whistle. He rang the teacher's bell and drummed on the desktop with the teacher's ruler. He cleared his throat importantly and called out, Attention, class! Give me your attention, please. All eyes forward. Now sit up straight in your seats. Here, Roger paused to stare severely up and down the 5 rows of desks. Is that a voice I hear? He said. I want no more chit-chat. Emily, in the 4th row, stop combing your hair. This is not a beauty parlor. Mary, take that chewing gum out of your mouth and stick it in your nose. Now, class, follow my instructions. Listen and do what I say. I want you to take your reading books and turn to page 30. To Roger's delight, the rows of desktops opened in unison. When a reading text lay in the front of each student, he commanded, Now, class, I want you to read 30 to 39. Got that? Then read pages 40 to 49. Next, let me see. Read 50 to 59 and 60 to 69. And why not throw in page 70 just for fun? Roger enjoyed the shock expressions on the faces of his classmates. And there will be no talking, no squirming in your seats, and no trip to the toilet, he said. Oh, and please, no questions. Understand? Good. Now enjoy your reading. There will be a big test on it when you finish. You may begin. Soon, the only sound in the room at the end of the hall was the occasional swish of turning pages. Roger nodded in approval. He leaned back in the teacher's swivel chair and studied the holes in the acoustic tiled ceiling. That should keep this class busy until lunchtime, he said, swinging his feet up on the teacher's desk. I mean, this teacher business is a breeze. Unbelievable. What a life. I mean, to sit in a classroom all day dishing out orders, how easy can you get? In the next moment, however, in the very moment when the room at the end of the hall was most calm and peaceful, when the students were so quiet you could hear the clicking of the clock above the bulletin board, a voice blared from the back of the room. What's going on? What's everyone doing? Roger sat bolt upright in his teacher's chair. In the doorway stood a boy holding 2 erasers, and this boy had the same freckled face, the same chalky jeans, and same dusty black hair. Roger blinked twice. Yes, this boy was a copy of Roger himself. I wonder what this boy of Roger will be like. Do you got a guess? Okay, do you have it? Let's keep going. Whistling a rock and roll tune, the boy strolled into the classroom. Squeak, squeak went his tennis shoes as he shuffled to the front of the classroom. He passed the green blackboard, scraping his fingers along its entire length. The erasers ended on the floor. Quiet, creepo, someone called from the second row. Shh, 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 hissed others. Leaning forward, Roger followed the boy's progress from the blackboard to a desk in the 3rd row. Hold the phone, hold your horses, hold everything, he muttered in one breath. That kid is heading toward my desk. And that is precisely where the boy sat down. At once he threw open the lid, crack, down it came. Shh, 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 cried the room again. The boy grinned. Without bothering to raise his hand, he called, Unbelievable. Hey, teacher, I lost my reading book. I have nothing to read. What am I supposed to do? For the first time in his life, Roger the teacher, was speechless. Deep down in his gut, he knew what would happen next. His eyes fell upon Rosalie, who sat front of the loud-mouthed boy. Rosalie had a long brown ponytail that hung far down her back. Roger knew this ponytail well, and it came as no surprise to him when Rosalie wheeled in her seat and shook a fist at the boy. She growled, "You put glue in my hair one more time, creepo, I'll flatten you." The boy merely grinned again, a wide-toothy grin that Roger also knew well. Roger slumped into his teacher's seat and blew out his cheeks. Someone must do something about that kid, he said. What happened to the peace in this room? What happened to the quiet? How is anyone supposed to get any reading done with that kid disrupting everything? Here is what the boy sitting at Roger's desk did next. First, he leaped out of his seat. On the way to the back of the room, he snapped Kenneth's reading book shut, knocked on Emily's desktop, and kicked over the wastebasket. At the drinking fountain, he took a long, slurpy drink, then burped. Returning to his desk, he made a computer go beep, 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 bumped Howard's chair, snapped Kenneth's book a second time, and then burped. By now, no one was reading. The entire class was staring at Roger, the teacher, with scowls on their face. Roger's shoulders rose to his ears. "So why look at me?" he said. "What do you want me to do?" But of course, in his long experience with teachers, Roger knew what the class expected him to do. It was his job to stop the pain in the neck. Rattled, he slowly rose from his seat, pointing a finger at the boy who was now drumming on the desktop with 2 pencils. He snarled, "All right, you will stay in from the next recess with your head down on your desk. Got that? Wait a minute. You shouldn't be going outside for the rest of the day. For the rest of the year. Understand? You won't have recess for the rest of your life." As soon as Roger had said these words, he knew he had wasted his breath. How many times had his tall teacher said similar things to him, and what would Roger always do when he did? He would give the tall teacher his wide, goofy smile, and now there sat the boy wearing that same grin. Roger's skin grew hot and prickly. He dropped into his chair. "It's hopeless," he muttered. That one kid has made the entire class miserable. Things were great until he showed up. There was only one thing left for Roger to do. He stepped to the green blackboard, picked the erasers off the floor, and trudged outside to the playground. Once, twice, 3 times, he pounded the black felt blocks together. Each smack produced a billowy cloud of powder. On the 4th whack, the chalk dust genie reappeared, complete with a golden turban, earring in the air, and pajama bottoms. "Your wish is my command, Raj," he said, bobbing up and down inside his cloud. Jeannie, I don't want to be the teacher any longer, said Roger. I mean, it's murder. I mean, there's a kid in the class who's driving everyone up the walls. He's unbelievable. The genie folded his muscled arms and raised his smooth chin. So, that is your last wish, eh, Raj? Sure is. I don't want to be in charge anymore. I want to be my good old self again. Even as Roger spoke, the cloud of chalk dust rose above the playground, drifted across the baseball diamond, and sailed over the right field fence. With the 2 erasers in his hand, Roger marched into the school. At the door, he peeked in the room at the end of the hall. Phew. The tall teacher was back, sitting behind his desk. Every student was hunched over their book, reading silently. Roger entered the classroom. He was on the verge of shouting out when he checked himself. Instead, he walked to the blackboard and placed the erasers on the chalk tray. Grinning at his classmates, he crept to his desk in the 3rd row and took out his reader. After that, Roger did a remarkable thing. The class was shocked. The tall teacher nearly fell out of his swivel chair. Roger even surprised himself. He started to read. So we will pause there and we will do another read aloud tomorrow. But hopefully you enjoyed the beginning of the classroom at the end of the hall. We'll see you soon. Bye.